The night over the lake was heavy, as if the darkness itself had sunk low over the water and pressed against their chests. The wind struck their faces, whipped their clothes, and hurled salty drops at them as if trying to knock them down. The boat rose and fell, creaking, groaning softly like something alive. And tired, the disciples rowed in silence. Each stroke came with effort, their muscles burned. No one spoke, not even Peter. He sat at the very edge, gripping the wood of the boat as if holding not to the rail, but to the last familiar thing left in the world. The wind strengthened. A wave slammed into the side, drenching all of them in icy water. "Hold on," someone shouted. But the wind tore the words away instantly. Peter squinted into the darkness. His eyes stung, his hands trembled, but inside was something worse than cold, the feeling that the night had become too long. Too dark. Too empty without him. He exhaled. Where is he? No one answered. Only the sea yanked the boat downward, and a sandy groan ran along the planks. Peter lifted his head. Something moved in the distance, where nothing should be, only water, wind, and emptiness. He blinked, focused, squinted so hard his eyes began to water. And then, between the waves, between distant flashes of lightning, he saw a figure walking on the water. "Do you see that?" The disciples turned. Someone gasped. Someone exhaled sharply. Someone recoiled as if they'd seen death. "It's a ghost," a voice broke into hysteria. The figure approached, calmly, steadily, step by step. The wind didn't touch him. The waves didn't reach him. And then, through the storm, through the roar of water, through fear, a voice carried across the darkness. A voice Peter would have recognized among thousands. "It is I. Do not be afraid." Jesus stood on the water as if it were solid ground. Peter felt something tear inside him. Fear and hope, doubt, and the sudden desire to step toward him, a quiet in his soul and a storm around him. He stepped forward. His fingers still clung to the boat. His lips were dry. "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you." The wind froze. Just for a moment. As if the entire sea was listening, Jesus looked at him. Softly, deeply. With a strength Peter felt but could not explain. "Come." The word fell into his heart. Heavy as a stone, warm as light. Peter lifted one foot, a second stretched into eternity, and he stepped. His foot touched the water and did not sink. The wind quieted for a heartbeat, as if the sea itself held its breath, waiting to see what he would do next. Peter stood there, unable to believe what his feet were telling him. The water beneath them was soft, yet firm. It yielded yet held, as if under his soles was not a storm, but someone's hand. Slowly, he unclenched his fingers from the boat's edge. His heart pounded so loudly he thought everyone could hear it. Another step, and another. The disciples froze, their eyes locked on him, some frightened, some awestruck, some unable to fully believe what they were seeing. But Peter saw no one except him. Jesus stood only a few steps away. Quiet, steady, unmoving, like a light in the night that does not flicker in the wind. "Lord." Peter breathed. The wind carried his voice away, but Jesus still heard him. Peter took step after step, and each one felt like a small miracle. He could feel the water vibrating beneath his feet, the waves nudging him from the side, the hope rising in his chest. He is walking. For the first time in his life, he walked where no one could walk. where only one had walked before. And then, the storm reminded him it was still there. On his left, a massive wave shot upward. It hit the air so hard the spray sliced his face like cold knives. The roaring wind returned, the screaming, the darkness twisting around him. Peter turned his head for a second, just one small second, but it was enough. The waves looked taller than he was. The angry roar of the wind distorted the world around him. Darkness swallowed the horizon. The storm was a giant, alive, hungry. And something inside Peter cracked. A small crack. A small thought, what am I doing? This is impossible. And the crack became a chasm. His legs gave way. The water vanished beneath his feet, as if someone ripped the ground out from under him. A weight hammered into his chest, and Peter plunged downward like a stone. Lord. The water closed over his head. Cold burned him, as if the sea had sucked him into an icy mouth. He tried to inhale, but water filled his lungs. The sea thundered around him, like thousands of stones falling into a pit. Bubbles flickered in the darkness, and then light. Above him, a hand, reaching through the foaming waves. The water pressed in around him, heavy, freezing, crushing. Peter sank fast, as if the sea itself was pulling him down into a dark mouth where there was no air, no light, no meaning. He tried to push the water aside, but his movements were slow, like in a dream where everything lags behind. The roar of the storm vibrated through the water, as if the sky itself was falling into the sea. Panic burst inside him like a sharp pain. His chest tightened. His thoughts broke apart. I'm sinking. I'm sinking. Lord, where are you? Bubbles streamed from his mouth, rising upward, to a place he could no longer reach. And then, through the roar, through the weight, through the depth, he saw light. At first, a trembling point. Then, a glow. Then, a hand, reaching toward him, clear, strong, unshakable, like a rock. The hand of Jesus. Peter lunged toward it with the last strength he had, like a man who no longer wants to live in darkness. His fingers barely obeyed him, but he managed to reach out and touch that hand with the tips of his fingers. Instantly, a grip, fast, firm, as if his hand cut through the water, through the storm, through Peter's doubt, straight to his heart. In a single moment, Peter was pulled upward with such force the water split past his ears like tearing air. He burst out of the wave, choking, gasping for breath, coughing as if exhaling death itself. Jesus held him by the wrist. Steady. Unyielding. So firmly Peter felt this hand could hold the sea, the sky. And him. Jesus pulled him closer. His face was wet from the spray, but calm as if the storm didn't exist between them. Why did you doubt? The voice was quiet, not accusing, pained and loving at the same time, like a father seeing his child's wound, but choosing not to shout. Peter tried to speak, but only coughed. Tears mixed with the salt water. Around them, the storm still raged, but only until the moment Jesus touched Peter's shoulder. And in that moment, the wind began to weaken. Not all at once, but like a beast losing its strength. The roar softened. The waves stopped rising so high. The darkness on the horizon began to crumble. They stood on the water, together, and the sea obeyed. Jesus held Peter's hand until the sea finally calmed, and the water beneath their feet grew firm again. They took their first step together, then another, and another. Each step echoed with a soft splash, as if the sea now whispered behind them instead of roaring. The boat was close. The disciples stood still as stone. One held a hand to his chest. Another knelt. Another whispered a prayer without realizing it. When Jesus and Peter reached the boat, the wind died completely. As if someone had extinguished the storm with a single motion, Jesus lifted Peter aboard, the way you lift a child who's too tired to walk anymore. Peter fell to his knees, gripped the side of the boat, and breathed heavily, only now understanding how close the darkness had been. Jesus stepped into the boat after him, not loudly, not dramatically, just stepped. And in that instant, the wind ceased for good. A great stillness settled over the lake, so suddenly the disciples all raised their heads. Silence lay heavy and warm, like a blanket. The sea became smooth, level, as if it had always been that way and had just forgotten for a moment. The disciples looked at Jesus as at the one who could speak to the very forces of the world. It was terrifying to look at him, and impossible to look away. Peter lifted his eyes. In them, shame, fear, relief, and something new, as if his heart had seen light for the first time. I was afraid, he whispered. Jesus leaned closer, his voice quiet like breath in the stillness. I know. He said it the way only the closest ones say things, not accusing, not pushing, but accepting. The disciples exchanged glances, some with tears, some with awe, some with a kind of wonder as if seeing him truly for the first time. The boat drifted forward on the calm glass-like water, and the sea, which moments ago had roared like a wild beast, was now a mirror reflecting the sky. No one spoke, because they all felt the same truth. They had witnessed fear sink and faith rise. Each of us has sunk at least once, not in water, but in fear, in doubt, in pain you can't even name. But Christ lifts us the moment we stop having strength to lift ourselves. He doesn't wait for us to become strong. He gives his strength right where ours runs out. And maybe today this story is about you. What storm surrounds you right now? Fear, doubt, guilt. Write one word in the comments. We'll see it. We'll read it. You're not alone. And if you want to see not only how Christ saves, but how he commands the storm itself, watch the next story. Jesus calms the storm.